What's up, guys? What's up? Welcome back, I90 Sports Nation. Welcome back to episode 9. So, gentlemen, week 2 in the books. And once again, I feel like we got a good week of football. I think we got a good weekend of football. There was some good games, and a few of them that I was dead wrong about. I'll admit that. But other than that, a good weekend again of football. But let's dive right into this. So we're going to start it off with the Patriots and the Jets. That was an interesting game. By the way, before we forget, me and JD have brought a special guest with us today. Ross, what's up, buddy?
I am no one special. I'm just old and I like to complain about sports.
It's the best kind of guest.
Well, then you'll fit right in. So let's dive right into this because so have you all ever heard of a saying called shit polishing?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You ever heard of that saying?
No question.
Because you could take that piece of turd and you can polish it up and shine it up and make it look all real nice. But when you add water to it, what's it turned back into?
Stinky,
a
smelly
piece of
shit.
turd.
It's still
Still a turd, no matter what way you look at it, right? Now,
Well
don't
put.
get me wrong, right? Patriots versus Jets, 25-6. A W is a W. Whether you to steal something from Fast and Furious, whether you win by an inch or a mile, it's still a win. It's still a W. It's still a win. Doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
But
WCW.
we can still look at the game, and when you kind of dive a little deeper into it, yeah, the score was 25-6. Yeah, there was a lot of good points, and the Patriots evening up their score at one, their record, I should say, at 1-1, getting Mac Jones his first W. Again, a mistake-free, I should say mistake-free, an interception-free game from Mac Jones. No picks again for the second game in a row. He racked up 186 yards. Unfortunately, no touchdowns. But let's kind of get into that a little bit. We're gonna kind of get into the numbers a little more. JD, did you get to watch highlights or watch any of that game?
I watched some highlights. I didn't watch it live. I was busy watching the Bears game and everything, and other games and stuff.
So what did you think?
Well, I mean, I will say first, thank you, New England, very much. I have the New England, as I said in a previous podcast, I have the New England Patriots as my fantasy defense in my league, and you guys dominated 4 interceptions and I think a couple of sacks there. A bunch of tackles for loss.
I believe they racked up 3 sacks.
3 sacks. Yeah, it was a good day for myself and for the New England faithful. So thank you guys. It's much appreciated as a personal football fan. Anyway, and besides that, it's exactly what we talked about before. Only I would say it's even more ramped up. Maybe you could say, oh, that's just another week of film for Belichick to say, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this wrong. Basically, we knew that Belichick dominates young quarterbacks. What is it, 26-6 or something like that against?
He is 21-6 versus rookie quarterbacks.
A little bit off there.
Absolutely. Yep.
Dominates. So it's exactly what we thought. Only instead of Tua, which I guess Tua is not a rookie, so it doesn't count. Rookie quarterback, here he is. What's up? All right, first time playing Bill Belichick, you're going to get destroyed. So that's what happened, and we kind of. Yeah, seeing ghosts. I like Ross's thing there. Exactly. You're going to be seeing ghosts because he's going to show you 8 different looks every single time. And I think that's what we saw. Again, I didn't watch play by play. So I was busy. I was focused on the Bears game. But I remember just seeing Zach running for his life every time he had the ball, just scared for his life. So that's great. If you're the Patriots, you like to see that because that's a division rival. He's going to be scared of you guys for the next couple of years.
Ross, your initial thoughts from as the game ended. What were your initial thoughts?
Okay, I got plenty to say on this, but we'll keep it short on this point because we're going to hit stats and other things later on. But
You go off.
Zach made it very easy for us. Let's be honest. 3 of those picks were thrown directly to defenders, like they were receivers. All we had to do
two
was
of them,
catch the
two
ball.
of them were legitimately thrown right at Patriots defenders. Two of them were literally thrown right, like they didn't even have to take a step in it in any direction, just thrown right to them.
And I'm still
That's good
shocked we
coaching.
got the amount. Yeah, and I'm still shocked we got the amount of sacks and hurries that we did. We did not put in most of our pass rushers. If you take a look, Winovich, certain other guys, they only had like 4 or 5 snaps on the field the entire game. And the Jets had more time of possession. So essentially that should have ended up to be more snaps for these guys. I think in some ways we are putting bubble wrap around certain players.
Definitely. Good point. So I'd like to kind of compare some notes with you guys. This is what I took out of it. I'm interested to what we'll start with the defensive side of the ball, Ross and JD, and then we'll move towards the offense. But defensively for the Patriots, this is what I took out of the game. Overall, the defense was pretty good. For most of the game, it was pretty good. They got after it. And they made some turnovers. They got some turnovers. They rattled Wilson a little bit. They threw him off his mark. So overall, the defense was good. Four interceptions, 3 sacks. This Ross, now I want your opinion on this. To me, the corners and safeties, the defensive backs in this game carried the defense.
Thank you. Except on the run. Okay, well, let's keep this in perspective. The run I was not impressed with, but the pass rush from say let's take a look at this. Let's look at the sacks. So you got Davis with 1, and you got Uche, middle linebacker, 2 sacks, 3 tackles, and Bentley 6 tackles, 2 assists. Again, they're making these plays in the backfield, which I do like. There were some open field tackle issues that I didn't like all that much, but we really got to shore up against the run, because if we're going to have trouble with the Jets running game, what are we going to do when we go up against McCaffrey? We go up against the kid from Camaro from the Saints. We got to batten down, because I was not impressed with the run defense.
You Patriots fans just looking down on all of us, just with your dominant secondary and your dominant offensive line and your dominant everything else. Well, if we don't do this other thing dominant, we're not gonna win the Super Bowl this year with your rookie quarterbacks.
All right,
talk
so
to Bobby about middle of the field, middle linebackers, and how open the field is. Bobby will give you an essay on that.
I will definitely. Ross, we're gonna believe me. We'll go into the so that was just a note, a side note. The defensive secondary carried for sure. One of the standouts to me, Ross, I think I said it last week too, because even in the Miami game, he had a very good game. Jalen Mills again had a very, very good game for the Patriots. Very good game. They targeted him 5 times and he only allowed 7 yards. That's it.
Again,
so they tried to pick on him. They tried to pick on him, and it didn't work out too well for him. And for the second week in a row, Jalen Mills has impressed me. He's fast becoming a quietly good piece on this defense.
Yeah, I mean he's come to all my expectations. I mean, JD, I don't know how much film you've seen on him, but he is quick. He's a quick guy.
That play that he made against Miami, where he dove and deflected that ball in the end zone, was great. That was spectacular.
Well, he did prevent the game from opening up. Like, again, that could have been a game where we lost by 1 or 2 touchdowns with Miami.
Yeah, no doubt. So those were that's the good. That was that was kind of the good points on the defense. The defensive secondary once again was very impressive. So let's kind of get down into the parts of this defense that are worrisome for the second week in a row have definitely shown some cracks and some vulnerability. Once again, Ross, the run defense. I mean, so let me get you guys something, right? The Patriots are allowing after two games, the Patriots run defense is allowing almost 5 yards a carry, 4.7. 4.7 yards a carry to running backs to running backs on the opposite side, the opposite team. That's not good. That is not good. And the defensive front of this team was supposed to be the strength. Hightower and Judon and Van Noy and Bentley,
Winovich.
all these, Bentley, Winovich, the newly acquired Patriots, Gotcha, and Barmore, all those, the defensive front was supposed to be one of the strong points on this D, and they're getting pushed around, and it's not good. It's not good. What do you think, JD?
Well, that just tells me, right there, like if that's a problem and you're dominating, yes, it's a bad team, but if you're dominating any NFL team at all and you still are having glaring problems in the run game and you don't have your best cornerback, supposedly, maybe your best cornerback, well, who knows after yesterday, who knows who your best cornerback is. But I would say that there's a lot of upside, because I think that if there's anything that you can fix in this league, it's the run game, because offensive linemen are worse than ever, and so are running backs. I'm not saying that like to be cruel to them or to disparage them and all, but objectively speaking, they're less productive than they ever have been. I think that defensive ends have more there's rules that are like pro defensive end, and there's rules that are pro receiver. So the game has evolved in that way that like offensive linemen are fewer and far between as far as performance goes. So it's easier to fix a pass rush than it is a secondary. So that's good for the Patriots at least. And you're getting one of your cornerbacks back. So that's nice too. Definitely.
Ross, what do you think?
So there's a couple things that hurt my soul. So I'm a defensive-minded type of guy. Always been coached that way, play that way. Guys are out of position all the time. The front line, they weren't holding their gaps. They were getting boxed out really easily, and they're the first line of protection against a run. And then on the ends, we couldn't lock the edge down, not once. I don't know what was going on, but they had free reign to work the outside of the field on running plays. And off tackle and off guard, it was just like Swiss cheese. And I like Uche for pass rushing.
The Jets did a very nice job of collapsing our defensive ends, collapsing the end and setting the edge. They did a really good job of it.
Do you think that's like a is that a linebacker like speed problem, or do you think
that's
like
Ross is saying that's the defensive end having to hold the edge, and they've been getting killed in it,
getting wrecked on that. I got you.
Keep going, Ross. I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
No, easy. Again, and I just felt like they played very passively. Like again, we did get a few sacks, we did get a couple of hurries, but by no means did we go after this young quarterback. By no means. We played very conservatively. We played in defensive schemes where the passing option was always there for them, and they still ran down our throat. You know what I'm saying? It's not up to the linebackers at this point. It was up to those front guys on the line, and they were not holding their gaps at all. They had all day to run, and we cannot do that against tomorrow.
No, and what we had spoke off camera, Ross. When we start playing teams with better running backs, that like when we see Alvin Kamara, when we see Zeke Elliott, when we see some of these better running backs that we're gonna when we see Derrick Henry with the Titans.
Yeah.
Look at that right there, right? So we got to play Alvin Kamara, Zeke Elliott, and Derrick Henry in one season, and they're allowing almost 5 yards a carry in week 2. So, I mean, that's when you're allowing 5 yards. So think of it like this, right? First down, and they hand the ball off. That's 1st and 5. That you just you automatically cut it in half, and you open the playbook up to the other team. 2nd and 5, they can do anything. They can run, they can pass. You know what I mean? It's a problem.
I would.
Yeah, go ahead, JD. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say what Ross said. I was just going to respond to Ross's thing. He said that we weren't even really pressuring Wilson much. So basically, Ross is saying that Wilson ain't seen nothing yet, man. You threw 4 interceptions against us just playing good secondary. Oh, you wait until we get a pass rush. That's what I heard.
Yeah, essentially the kid legitimately just threw it to our defenders. Like if you go take a chance to look at those interceptions, like it wasn't in double or triple coverage. It was thrown directly to a defender. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll take it all day. But it wasn't like man-to-man coverage, big play. It was like at least 3 of them
wins a win,
were
right?
uncontested. So it's just like I try to give credit where credit's due. They did pick up the ball. They did capitalize. But he just threw terrible.
You think it was more just him failing versus the Patriots playing well?
Thank you, yeah.
Ross, would you like to add anything to that, brother?
It's a good take.
The defensive side, my concerns are there was a lot of players we did not see against the Jets. Where was Barmore? Where was Winovich? Where were these pass rush guys that we were all talking about at the beginning of the season? All of a sudden, they're not existent. We're looking at a bubble wrap team right now. I think there's some lingering injuries. They didn't see the Jets as much of a threat. And what they decided was that we're going to play conservative this game. It showed on both sides of the football today. I mean, on that game anyways. That's my theory anyways.
No, I could totally see it because especially if Bill recognizes that he can win and not overextend himself, then he'll just win and not overextend himself.
Yeah, and that's his playbook. Like again, least amount of effort for the W. You know, because again, he doesn't want to burn out his guys before bigger games.
So now let's slide over to the offensive side of the ball. Once again, Ross and JD, Damian Harris shines again. The guy just went full when on that 26-yard touchdown run that he had, he was hit at the 8 the 8 or the 10. With the first contact was made at I believe first contact was made at the 8, I think. And he slipped 4 tackles and drug 3 defenders on his back into the end zone. Like he just would not be denied. Like if we get that kind of running from him, and so far he's shown it in 2 straight games, he's going to be a problem for the league this year. Like a big problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that Harris, if they keep using him as like a workhorse, that just opens up the playbook for everyone else. So that's all I would add to that.
What do you got, Ross?
All right, so Damian Harris, here's 16 carries for 62 yards, 3.9 average per carry, 1 TD, and I mean, the stats aren't the only thing, but it's like I really was hoping like a 100-yard game from him. Not for fantasy stuff, but to get this young kid out there, get him comfortable running the ball, maybe catch some passes out of the backfield. But it was just, you and me complained since the Miami game that this playbook is so boring, so lackluster, and with no disguising the plays. Like, have we seen really any receptions from Damian Harris? Have we seen... I think there's so much more to this team that we haven't seen, and it's driving people crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And here's another to add to the Damian Harris thing. So he had 16 carries for 62 yards, right? There was more yardage, or there should have been more yardage there. How many times how many times, Pats Nation, everybody listening to this, if you watched that game, how many times did you see Dame Harris have to run into a wall at the line of scrimmage, or first contact on him was made behind the line of scrimmage and he made something out of nothing? He made a 1 yard loss into a 3 yard gain. That's the sign of a good running back. That's the sign of a good. Yeah,
that's 50-yard run, like 13 or like 3 times at least.
To be hit behind the line of scrimmage, for to have first contact made behind the line of scrimmage and at least fall forward and get back to the line of scrimmage for a non-negative play. It shows awareness. It shows, it's the sign of a good, smart running back. I know me and you, Ross, had talked off camera about this too. The running in the 16 carries, and I bet about 4 of them he ran straight into a wall of nothing.
Yeah, here's the thing, and this is the thing that we get aggravated about. We've had arguments within our fan base about why are we running off tackle off guard every single time. No, not once did I see an end around, just something to give them somewhat of a chance, because they would still run a running play with the box stacked. You have so many options on the flats. Why don't you fake a run? He goes out there, catch a little dinky pass for 3 or 4 yards. Everyone's talking about all these checkdowns. I'm not seeing that many checkdown plays. I want to see Damian Harris be used more effectively and not put him in positions where he's got to try to blow through a wall. That's how you burn out running backs, and quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like red zone, like we got in a big argument with some people the other day. Like red zone, why are you running the same running play in the red zone? Your first one you get stopped for nothing, and then the second one you get -7 yards.
That's funny because that's a perfect transition into the next point. The efficiency once the Patriots cross the 30 of the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
It's now. I want to ask both of you guys, JD. So I'll start with you, and then I'll get Ross's opinion too. Now, I want your opinion, right? So the Patriots crossed. They were able to get into the red zone quite a few times. I want to say like 6. Now, it seemed from watching the game and just looking at the play calling, it seemed like it tightened up. Like once again, do you think it's the lack of trust in Mac Jones to throw the football in the red zone, or is it receivers not being able to get open, or is it Jones not trusting himself throwing into tight windows? What do you think?
Well, I think it's definitely them not necessarily letting him, take it upon himself to say, I'm going to call an audible here. And I also think that I don't know if it's necessarily the leash as it's commitment to the run game. I don't know if they should be calling the same play over and over, but I think they're very committed to the run game. So they're going to run it as often as they possibly can. And I definitely don't think they trust Mac Jones, and that might be a weakness down the stretch. That's all I would say.
Ross.
Thank you, JD. So, yes, don't run the same play twice in a row, number 1. Number 2, our red zone percentage was non-existent. Let's be honest. The only touchdowns we scored was on a running play that was outside of that, and the others were based off turnovers. If those didn't happen, this could have been a far closer game at the end of the day. So let's go back to red zone situation. So they have put certain players under bubble wrap. Okay, Mac Jones is one of them. They have legitimately cut his playbook in half. He hasn't thrown over the top at all. And I just feel that he is in his own head right now. He's second-guessing things because they're telling him to play conservative. If the play is not there and you're not 100%, check it down or throw the ball away. Because we're seeing this from all the other players on the field. Are we seriously thinking Jonnu, who could have had a touchdown that game, and instead went right out of bounds because they don't want these guys putting their body at risk when this is a game they should clearly win. I think they scaled down the playbook. They said if it's not there, go for the easiest check down. I think he's been told keep it conservative, and he's second guessing himself. Hopefully that'll be worked out by the Saints game. But as you saw, Bobby, from that game, he is not throwing like he did in preseason.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Now, JD, so strap your tinfoil hat on here a little bit. So what if Hunter Henry's hurt? And what if Mac Jones what if Mac Jones and Hunter Henry are nursing injuries and Belichick's trying to not get them crushed or killed during a game that they should more than likely come through with a win. So Mac Jones in the preseason, I believe it was in the Giants game, got rolled up on and it tweaked his knee. Ever since then, he's worn that knee brace. Now, if you watch the film, JD, if you go back and watch the games prior to that in the preseason, you'll see Mac Jones throwing much harder and with much more confidence than the Miami game and this game. And also, if you take 5 random plays from this game, pass plays, and if you watch his feet, he's very flat-footed and he's not driving the football. He's throwing with all arm. He's throwing with all arm, and that's worrisome to me. That's worrisome to me. Because if he is, let's just say he is nursing something and trying to outlast it until it gets better, it'll be very telltale if in 3 weeks the knee brace comes off.
I would say that that is it. I didn't realize that. This is actually news to me. And if he is nursing something like that, then he's just got to kind of play through it because that's the NFL, man. So you got to keep on playing until it gets better. I'm sure that.
But could that be a reason why their play calling is so vanilla, so bland, to not put him at risk? You know what I mean? To not have him sit back in the pocket for 3.5 seconds and let a deep ball, let a deep crossing route develop. You know, you have to sit back in the pocket, and when you sit back in a pocket, you risk being hit. That's basically what I'm getting at.
I think that maybe like a running play, that could be the case. But I feel like that. If I'm an offensive coordinator, I don't know this for a fact. It's possible you're right on this, but I don't know this for a fact. But if you're an offensive coordinator, you probably as far as passing plays, if you're out there, you should be able to make any passing play. And if you can't, then maybe the backup should play. Maybe Brian Hoyer should play. I mean, honestly, how would you feel about that? Like if Hoyer did have to come in, if
it was for the betterment of Mac Jones, I might not have a huge issue. Ross,
I think he's young. I think he'll be all right.
Ross, now I want to get your thoughts on that. Me and you have spoke about that a little bit, but I want to get your thoughts on that little kind of tinfoil hat theory.
Well, so remember last season, what was everyone's biggest complaint about Cam Newton? His footwork was bad, and he wasn't driving throws. He was using all arm strength. Mac Jones is not Cam Newton. He does not have that upper body strength to be able to toss that ball. So I would not be surprised if he talked to McDaniels before the game. I'm not going to be able to get to that second and third level on the passing. So I'm assuming that they only kept it in short yardage plays this game because he can't. He can't drive his leg forward. He can't get those laser-like throws off like he did in preseason. I think this was a rest game that he had to play. Because let's be honest, if we put Brian Hoyer in there would have been a lot of problems. Next part is I believe there's at least 3 players that are on the offense that are under bubble wrap, if not 4. We have Mac Jones with the knee brace. We have Jonnu Smith that kept going out of bounds and taking safe passes whenever he was targeted. And Hunter Henry, where you only saw him 3 times. We hit him a few times, big yardage plays. but we only had 6 receptions from our tight ends.
And let's put this in. Let's put it into perspective too. 57 plays for the Patriots, and they only threw to the tight end 6 times.
And it's very interesting to see that Ramondre Stevenson was not in the game today.
Was not active, yeah.
They unactivated him and put in Brandon Was it Brandon Bolden? Is that the correct name?
Bolden instead, yes.
Yes. He can run, and he is special teams. I think they also rested him because remember the workload he put in against Miami?
Yes. He did. He ran good against Miami. He did.
How many bruised up guys do we have that we have to be concerned about? Because I think this is why Mac wasn't throwing over the top, and guys look like they're doing very safe plays. I think there's some injuries that are lingering and going into the season, and they don't want to burn them out before the Saints game.
Or even before, like they're basically just trying to get them through the injury until they're back to 100% and then ramp them back up.
Yes, sir. Yep, exactly. And again, it's like it's a knee. It's his driving. It's his first leg forward to drive into these passes. And we did not see any velocities on ball. Like you said when we were off camera, these are all floaters. These are all quick little passes. But did we see any lasers out of the kid? Not so much.
I just watched him get sacked. I'm watching it. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I watched these highlights, and it did look like this one play that he was trying to protect his knee.
He rolled.
That's possible. It's very possible.
I mean, cue the X-Files music, but I mean, just it could be something. It could be nothing. It's just something that I've noticed. Like a lot of quarterbacks in the pocket that are confident and that aren't worried about that are 100% healthy, they drive off that back leg. They drive the ball with their legs, and it just looks like Jones is throwing flat-footed. That's
his back foot, yeah.
All I'm getting at is that it looks like he's throwing flat-footed. When you're throwing flat-footed, it's not a good sign. It means that it's when you add the throwing flat-footed and the knee brace on top of it, it just that's worrisome. That's a little worrisome. That this early in the season, Jones could be nursing something, and to win games and to get into the playoffs, we're gonna need him to be 100% and locked in.
Well, and here's another thing. If you want to bring up cool, genuine Phil's comment, Carolina defense shut down Saints, and their defense is not good as our Pats. So, Phil, when you get a chance, this is one of the things that concerns me. Carolina already played the Jets, and they played them better than us. We're supposed to be on paper a better defense. But when you look at the stat sheet, Carolina had a way better game against the Jets than we did. And this is not to go after your comment. I just want kind of your opinion on that. Does that concern you like it does us? Because we're looking at the stat sheets, and it's concerning. What do you think, Phil? Or what are your opinion, guys, when you see something like that? Because you look at the Jets-Carolina game, they outpaced us. Do you want to comment on this, JD?
Oh my god, I was looking at stats. Oh my god, that's so funny. Because I was gonna address this, and well, I don't want to move off the Patriots.
Yeah, I'll
save that.
We'll get to that though. We'll get to that. I just thought that was hilarious. Good call, Ross. Hilarious. So, Ross, the final Patriots kind of offensive note that I put down. Pass blocking is an issue, dude. It's been an issue, and it's been an issue for both games. Mac Jones is getting hit a lot.
Absolutely. So they struggled with protection and run blocking. They couldn't hold their gaps at least on the offensive line. I was just seeing guys streaming back there, and it's like, is this really a great pass rush team? You know what I'm saying? When you start seeing too much green in the backfield with the Jets, it's just like, oh.
So let's kind of be fair though. Like, let's be fair. Durant Durant was the they were banged up. That's what I'm. So Durant was not good, and then they went to Haran, and I believe he got hurt.
Yes.
I believe he got hurt or tweaked something. So they are banged up on the line, which it's very weird because me and JD had talked about this before, and like the offensive line of the Patriots was supposed to be one of the strong points on this team, and they don't look too good.
Well, also you got to think about the one guy who let all those sacks go through was one singular player. I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was a replacement last second at was it tackle or guard?
Are you talking last season?
No.
Durant. He was a tackle. Durant. He was a tackle.
Every sack was because he blew blocking schemes. He just blew it. They literally had to pull him out of the game and put someone else in place. The other thing that hurt me a lot is penalties are still an issue. He still had 6 penalties for 54 yards.
54 yards on 6 penalties. And then the week before, week 1, remember me and JD previous podcast had talked about this. 8 penalties for 84 yards in week 1.
There's a lot of things that that it's supposed to be. See, here's the thing, and I've said this a while. I question how great Bill Belichick is. I'm not saying he's not the greatest coach of all time. He is. He's better than all the other coaches. But people are saying that, he could turn anyone into Tom Brady. He could turn any defense into this. He could turn any offensive line into that. He could hire any coach and make him a great coach. And without Brady there, it's kind of like Popovich and Tim Duncan. Without Tim Duncan there, you don't have that staple on the court. You don't have that staple on the field. Maybe that culture starts to slowly dwindle away. Now, to be fair, I could be full of crap because they're very, 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 very young. And this is a culture that's building and building and building. So there's a lot of young guys. I could be totally wrong about that.
Are you kidding? This whole show is full of shit.
Yeah, that's why I said it. Just spit it. Spit the shit.
Ross,
that's what makes it
thoughts?
Fun.
Did he mute himself?
Yeah, he's muted at the moment.
I am muted. So to kind of wrap things up with what I've seen from the last 2 games, we have a quarterback that's not 100%. We got our 2 most expensive acquisitions in the offseason that are clearly not 100% based on their play time and the way they're acting on the field. I think there's a lot of concerns here that need to be ironed out. Hopefully these can be worked out before New Orleans and Tampa Bay, because the way I'm looking at this right now, based on the things we've talked about, I don't have confidence going into the Tampa Bay game. I have some confidence going against New Orleans, but I do not have confidence against Tampa, and I don't have confidence against Cleveland.
No, they're gonna have to iron out some issues for sure. And don't let's put this into perspective, right? The Patriots spent almost $110 million on offensive upgrades to make sure the offense ran better.
Mm-hmm.
And I used this analogy before, and I'm going to use it again. I'm going to use it on this show. I don't think I have used it on this show before, but that's like buying imagine this, right? Imagine you buy yourself a brand new Ferrari. Brand new $350,000 Ferrari, right? You don't buy yourself that Ferrari to start it up and go drive it at 20 miles an hour.
Yep. And
you buy yourself a Ferrari so you can drive it at 150.
Yep. And here's the thing.
So so to relate that to the Patriots, they spent all that money on Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, and they've thrown to him a combined like 14 times in 2 games for each guy.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to start using that investment better.
Well, and here's the other thing. Remember, we were discussing off camera that night when we were looking at the contracts for Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry has a longer legacy in the NFL. Okay, why was someone like Jonnu Smith got $50 million while Hunter Henry, who has shown that he play better, why do you only get 37? Why was that, Bobby? Like we discussed.
Now, I have a theory on that, and JD, I want to lay it on you because we had talked about this off camera. What if they paid? So Hunter Henry was injured this training camp in a blocking exercise, right? Blocking exercise. It was deemed a shoulder injury, right?
Right.
Now, let's say for tinfoil hat theory purposes that was either a bad sprain or a rotator cuff or something of that nature, and they realized or they knew that there was something there before they signed Hunter Henry. That is why instead of a $50 million tight end, he was signed as 37.5. And what if the Patriots are simply managing an injury?
I think that'd be it's almost it's either that or they're not getting the system in practice. The chemistry isn't there in practice. They don't feel comfortable with it in practice. Maybe they don't feel comfortable with Mac. Maybe it's Mac's injury. Maybe they don't feel comfortable with that tight end because there's a lot of what ifs here. And there's a lot of questions, in my opinion, that should be answered throughout the season. And I think I lean on, if I had to guess one, like gun to my head, I got to guess. I think it's the playbook. I think that they don't have the chemistry down yet. It's not going well in practice. Hunter Henry was good with Philip Rivers. He was good. Who else did he have? Did he have Herbert? I don't think he had Herbert. He did have Herbert.
He had Herbert last year.
Herbert. He was good with Rivers. He was good with Herbert. Is he good with Mac? Maybe he will be. There's time will tell. I feel like the Patriots don't do it. First of all, it's like you said, they have a big bag of tricks. They don't reach into the bag unless they're 100% confident that that's going to work. So I think it's probably, I lean either injury, like you said, that's probably number one, or it's the playbook is my other guess.
Yeah,
Ross,
the only reason I'm leaning towards a lingering injury, and I'm not saying like something where like he could play through it, but they don't want to press it, is every time we went to Hunter Henry and Smith, okay, we're looking at Hunter Henry, only 2 receptions, average 21 yards per play. 2 receptions. That's 10 yards a play. Judon, 4 for 28 yards, 7 yards average per play. That's only 6 plays out of 60. Imagine if they were using that more consistently during the game. Why would you go away from a working formula unless players are dinged up, beat up, and they're looking to recover? It's just, you look at the stats from the game, and they were there. And I'm assuming they would have been there in the red zone if they used them.
Don't you feel like at all? Well, let me ask you guys. Do you think that they're maybe trying stuff out and like it's like trial and error? Like they wanted to sprinkle this in. The next week you'll see even more. Oh, it worked a little bit. Hey, look at these stats. You know, they're going to look at what you just said and say, hey, next week let's really use Henry. Let's attack. Or, you know, it depends on the matchup. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ross. Go ahead, Ross. You can answer. Go ahead.
Yeah. Again, I'm glad they got him out there for a few plays and they weren't just hidden, but 6 plays in a 60-play game is not going to be enough either A, to satisfy fans, or B, to get chemistry going with a young quarterback in game time. I think Mac needs as much time thrown to these guys as possible because these are going to be the guys that are going to be his emergency outlet. Like, you don't want to see him throwing the ball into the ground consistently because they're afraid to use the talent we have.
Don't waste that money either.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna say, JD. Right? Like, it's almost like you spend all this money, like you keep, David Andrew, you keep the offensive line intact. You go and you get 2 tight ends. You sign better receivers. It's almost like all of that effort and all of that money is like a waste if you can't get the chemistry right. Like they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out because guess what? The Saints are the last, like after New Orleans, it's Tampa. So they don't have much time left to be like, to figure out what our identity is going to, I mean, me personally, I think the identity is obviously going to be, I think it's going to be run first and run and heavy tight end use. But I don't, at least that's what I thought at the beginning of the year. The lack of them throwing to the tight ends has been kind of surprising to me. That's all.
They're going to have to pull out all the stops when they face the Bucs because Tom Brady is going to want to, I don't want to be Bill Belichick on week 5, man. Bucs are going to win that game. I'm sorry to say.
I'm not going to comment on the Bucs game and predictions or anything like that until I see what we look like against the Saints and Jameis Winston. And
I got the Bucs.
Yeah, before we play the Bucs, because we don't know what we have yet. It's been 2 games. We don't know. We don't know what type of team we are. We don't know what the injury situation is. There's a lot of unknowns, and I think that's what's making Patriots fans nervous.
No question. There's a lot of unknowns, including potential injuries. If you believe Bobby, and the Belichick has been known to hide injuries, so this wouldn't be the first time that even happened. So
yeah, it's convenient that Ramondre went on the inactive list as soon as he had a major game where he was doing punishing runs. Let's be honest, that Miami game, they threw him to the wolves.
No doubt. So let's climb aboard the Up Yours New York Express and take off and land that sucker in the Windy City. And we are headed over, and we're headed into Bears territory, Bears country.
The
Bears. So the Bears
Bears
and Bengals, JD, I want to get your initial thoughts on the game first.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right.
The floor is yours, my dude.
All right. Well, I mean, if some of you might have seen on I90 Sports Talk, I posted a couple of shorts, very short, like 30-second videos, and I was just expressing my immediate emotions. Let's go back to that comment. Actually, let's go back. You know what we're gonna pull up, don't you?
Oh wait, we can go. Hold on. Let me get it.
Oh, I love that comment. That was the best comment.
I gotta find it.
Anyway, I know what it said. It basically said, "Was I the only one that was cheering whenever Andy Dalton got hurt?" Which is just, man, that's terrible. But actually,
yep, I got it.
There it is. FJ. I just wanted to give him credit. FJ the King or the Kang. Throw it up, man. Thanks for watching. That's hilarious. I was not cheering that he was hurt. Actually, to be completely honest with you, I have the volume off, so I didn't hear that he was hurt. All I saw is I think I went to go get some coffee or something. Look up and I see Justin Fields. I'm like, let's go, Justin Fields, let's go. I was so hyped. So, but let's talk about Justin Fields for a second. Justin Fields wasn't that good. He wasn't. He looked like a rookie. He looked very average. The play calling, I feel like, was fine. A lot of people were like, the play calling sucked. I don't see a problem with it. He just didn't execute that well. And the Bears didn't execute that well as a team. They didn't. We're bad. This is the week 2. The Bears are not a good team. They're not a good team, sadly. We just have to face it. We have to look in the mirror. We have to, just be honest with ourselves. We have to go to therapy about it. We're not a good team anymore. A lot of the guys that were good on the team are gone. They're either retired. We have a few good pieces. We have Khalil Mack, who's still in his prime. We have Hicks, who's still somewhat in his prime. We have a couple of Jackson played well last night. This is what I will say. On as far as Justin Fields, the offense played poorly. The line was poor. He had virtually no time to even consider his reads. There were a few times when he'd snap the ball and he was immediately on the run. But I will say this, he was much more talented than Andy Dalton, and he gives us a much better chance to win. Regardless, I think after watching these two games, we're probably only going to win maybe 6 to 7 games this year. Because I think we're not going to be a winning team this year. So this is Matt Nagy's mentality. Let me break that down really quick while I go on my little rant, and then I want to hear from you guys. Matt Nagy's mentality is, all right, I'll get Andy Dalton in there. He'll run everything poorly. He'll run everything. He'll do all of the plays that I want him to do. He'll do them exactly how I want them to do them. But he won't complete any of the plays, and he won't bring anything dynamic to the table. So he'll bring absolutely nothing dynamic. He won't help us win. We're going to win 6, no matter Justin Fields, Andy Dalton, 7 to 8 games max. 7 to 8 games max, maybe 9 if we're absolutely incredibly lucky. So we have to lower our expectations. If you put Justin Fields in, he's going to struggle. There's going to be games that are going to be hard, but he's also you're going to see flashes of greatness. You're going to see amazing throws. You're going to see excitement. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. That's part of football. We need to learn that. But it's not a good team, so just roll the dice. That's what I would say. And the other thing I would say on the defensive end, which do you want to wait? You want to wait until I get into that?
Yeah. So let's stay offense. So
let's talk about the offense.
I got some positives. Yep.
Ross, did you get to see that Bears game at all, or see highlights of it?
I watched the highlights, and here's the thing. I know you guys are kind of down on it, but I see potential from this kid. Like, what we're looking at here, like, again, he didn't have the passing yards. Again, the rushing yards were there. You guys are a great kind of rushing team at this point, at least in that game. Yards per play could have been a little bit better, but no real big turnovers. You only had 1 interception the whole game, while your defense made them cough it up 3 times. You got a fumble recovery. I mean, there's a lot of good points to the Bears team that I think they're gonna work out. I mean, you had 3 sacks on the day. You had 61 total plays. You controlled the time of possession. I think this Bears could be a good middling team, and as they gain chemistry, like, I think you guys can be a force within the next season or 2. Like, I mean, you got that running game that when it's working, it works. You have a team that looks like they're tightening things up, except for the penalties. That hurt you. You had 8 penalties for 70 yards. That kind of hurt you. But when I looked at Justin Fields' stats, that's not bad for a rookie quarterback. That shows, like, he's not just pitching the ball all over the place. Like, imagine if you had Zach, from the Jets. Could you imagine if you had to deal with 4 picks in one game against a strong defense that will capitalize on it? I think you guys are in the right direction. I don't necessarily have trust in Naggy, but the people around him, I think, are solid.
So here's what I agree with a lot of. I agree with a lot of that. So Justin Fields wasn't good in his debut, and I 100% don't. He wasn't. I shouldn't say he wasn't. He wasn't spectacular.
Yeah, for a rookie. Yes.
He looked like a rookie, and you know what? It wasn't his fault. Andy Dalton got hurt, and the kid got thrown to the wolves right then and there. All right, kid, here you go. Now, there were flashes where you could see kind of what that Bears offense would probably look like with Justin Fields running it. Since like you had stated earlier, Ross, that in that like JD had said earlier, the offensive the center and guards didn't play well. JD, up the heart of your line, your center had a really bad game, and that doesn't help because he's supposed to be the general on the field for the offensive line. But I don't there's potential there. Like, I don't blame Justin Fields. Like, he was 6 of 13. He was 6 of 13, and then he for like 65 yards, I think, in the air, and then I think he had 30 on the ground. So it's. I really do like the dual threat. I like the dual threat ability that Fields brings to that Justin Fields brings to the offense that you guys would run it. And I do think that, like, I do agree with Ross too. The offensive play calling would be much different, and I think it actually, the way the Bears are designed, especially with Ty Montgomery,
David.
I think that team is designed to fit Fields better than Andy Dalton. I really do. And they should, if Andy Dalton is even in question of starting next week, then Fields should take all of the QB1 reps this week. So I'm not even kidding you. He should take all of the QB1 reps.
I think you're right. I think there's absolutely Andy Dalton, from what I've seen these last 2 weeks. This is Andy Dalton is a car salesman selling you a dud, because this you've seen the best years, man, of Andy Dalton. He is not the same guy he was in Cincinnati. He's trying to sell you this Pro Bowl quarterback. He's not that guy anymore. When he was with Dallas, how did they do? Look at them now. Replace Dak and Andy Dalton right now. Like, it's insane. I'm not comparing Dak and Andy Dalton. Obviously, Dak's much better in general. But at one point, Andy Dalton threw for 4,500 yards in this league. So he was a good player. He's not anymore. He can't make the throws. And not only that, but we have absolutely nothing to gain from putting Andy Dalton in. We have everything to gain from putting Justin Fields in. Let the offensive line get accustomed to Justin Fields. Let the receivers get accustomed to Justin Fields. Let everyone get, the coaches, everyone get accustomed to him. Also, Justin Fields showed, I mean, I won't say flashes. He showed a glimmer, a little spark of greatness in maybe two plays. I'd say there was one throw that I was like, wow, that was a nice throw. Andy Dalton's not making that throw. Nick Foles probably isn't making that throw. Just the velocity and everything. And also just the athleticism. And then there was that breakaway where he was running and he broke that tackle and ran for about 15 yards. That was phenomenal. I just think Andy Dalton brings nothing to the table, and Fields is just he's the only option, in my opinion. Going back to Andy Dalton looks stupid to me. It looks weak and dumb at this point, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing with sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Russ. That leads me into my next thing that I want. Is there a quarterback controversy in Chicago?
Ooh.
I think so. What were you going to say, though, Ross, about that? I think there is.
I think this team was designed for Justin Fields, whether it be now or a season or two from now. It was very similar to us when we were thinking Cam was going to start this season. I lost a bet on a jersey. Like, literally, I bet Cam was going to start because all this. I think the only reason the Red Rocket was there was because they wanted to give him a season to sit down, learn, and figure out the playbook and NFL life in general. The thing I love about Justin Fields, he can make moves that the Red Rocket just can't. Like, a sack comes in, I can see Justin Fields shaking that off. I can see him being dynamic. The Red Rocket, unfortunately, I believe halfway through the season, or if not this coming game, he's going to lose the starting job. The way I see it, anyways.
Me and JD had talked earlier, and it's one of those things, and it perfectly we JD said it before in one of our previous podcasts that you'd rather take the unknown Justin Fields ceiling over and you know exactly what you get with Andy Dalton, and you know where his ceiling is and how good or bad he's going to do. You know what he is. But that unknown factor that Fields brings, that playmaking ability and just the it factor that and the swagger and just all of the stuff that he carries with him, it's almost worth giving it a shot at this point.
I'm just gonna say it. All right, let's cut Andy Dalton. If you want to start Nick Foles, go ahead. Start Nick Foles. I don't really care. But let's just cut Andy Dalton. Let's stop pretending that Andy Dalton is going to bring us to the playoffs or something like that. Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl. All right. He was the starting quarterback on a Super Bowl championship team. And Justin Fields, can't even think of his name, has been to, I think, 2 national championship games. Andy Dalton hasn't done crap. Now, I loved Andy Dalton when he was in TCU because I was like, oh, this little school, good for him, blah, blah, blah. But ever since then, he's been an average to slightly above average quarterback. And in the last 3 years, I'd say he's been very below average. So let's just cut him, stop pretending like he's anything at all. And we can use Nick Foles or Justin Fields because I feel like he's just a waste at this point.
I can't disagree with you, my friend. I can't. Like, I don't see
Dalton is like an old Datsun. Dalton's like an old Datsun. And Fields is like a Nissan Skyline. Let the kid play.
Let him go. Let him go. If you know what? If he does 20 interceptions and 15 touchdowns, it's like 4 rushing touchdowns. I don't care, dude. Whatever. Because here's the thing. He'll learn. He'll have a ton of tape to look over. If you don't let him play, he'll have 0 tape to look over. Think about that for a second.
That's what I'm saying. Justin Fields should get all of the QB1 reps this week. He should.
What is Dalton going to bring to our franchise? What is Dalton going to bring to Chicago? Like long term? Because here's the thing. You had me sold in the offseason. Dalton had us all sold. He was like, all right, guys, I'm bringing you this nice vehicle. It's a reliable vehicle. It's nice. And then we got it in the parking lot, and literally in 2 weeks, we're like, all right, this vehicle sucks, dude. This is trash. Like, you sold us we were going to get there. It was going to be a stable vehicle for you to get to the playoffs. You sold us a dud. And
you know what Andy Dalton is? You know what? Andy Dalton's the car salesman that takes like the odometer and dials it back, and you drive the car off the lot, and it like explodes 3/4 of a mile off the dealership.
That's exactly what he is. Yes, that's perfect. That's Andy Dalton. He's done it. So I say cut him. I say cut him because Nick Foles, he has a higher ceiling than Andy Dalton. He does.
Ross, final thoughts on the Bears offense before we head over to the defensive side?
I think there's a lot of positives you guys can take from this game. I truly believe that you guys are going to be a force to reckon with. Like, it may take some time, but Justin Fields, Chubb, like these guys that you got on your team is just stupid. It's just that O-line. Like, I think there's like a few key pieces from making you guys literally one of those teams that are like, where did they come from? I think you guys could be a dark horse team if the right things come together.
I think next year we could be dangerous, very dangerous next year. But this year we just got to learn, man.
It would not surprise me if Nagy and the Bears in the offseason got drafted offensive linemen high in the draft to protect Fields. It wouldn't surprise me.
Guys, so. I'm gonna switch to my Mac, my desktop. Just give me 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.
No, you're fired. All right. So, JD, let's swap over to the defensive side of the football now for the Bears, which that was dominant. The defense played. Dude, let's be honest. The D played their ass off against Cincy. They play well.
The defensive coordinator, I keep on forgetting his name. Hold on. Here's the coordinator. Let me pull up his name real quick. I want to say it because it's important. It's Sean Desai. Thank you. Sean Desai got the game ball after the game, and it's funny. I even said that. Like I might have even said that in the video I made. But I was like, yeah, this guy should get the game ball because the scheme was good. So the first 2 quarters, I was watching this pretty closely. The first 2 or 3 quarters, it was a solid scheme. Everything was just, hunky dory and pretty good. And I don't remember if it was the second or was it the third quarter? I think it was the third quarter when when Joe Burrow just like crapped the bed, man. He just 3 straight interceptions. Thank you, Joe Burrow. It was like it was so bad.
But I think you guys just got to him. I think the D forced those. It's not like Joe. Yeah. It's not like Burrow gave you those. You guys forced those interceptions.
Well, there's something that that Matt Nagy had said, and it's so true. And this is what happens when the Bears is young defensive backs are locked in and the scheme is good. This is what happens. So he said that they have the swarm to them, like they have like a swarm factor, like they all swarm together, like they all kind of swarm to the ball, and then they kind of after the third interception. They stopped swarming. What happened right after that? Can anyone tell me?
The Bengals started to climb back into the game.
2 straight touchdowns, back to back.
Yep. They drove right down. I remember after that last INT, they drove right down on you guys and scored, and then they did it again.
So this talent is so volatile. It's like the thin line between dominant and crap is right there. In the Chicago Bears defense.
I will give I put your cornerbacks Jackson and Johnson there in the doghouse last week, but
Johnson played well.
They played well. Johnson played really well.
And Jackson had a few good tackles, but Johnson was like a coverage beast. He was a nightmare. He was big and long.
And they were trying to pick on him too, and he was still like that. You could tell they were trying to pick on him. And he held his ground all game. Another game ball for the defensive side. Khalil Mack played really well in that game.
Yes, we need him to continue. He's going to have a tough life the next couple of years because he's got to be our staple. He's the only thing that's going to keep us in games for like him and a few other defensive. Like he's got to be the guy that keeps us in games because we have a lot of young guys, man. He's going to be the old guy in the room now. And did you hear that report that the Raiders tried to get Khalil Mack back in the offseason?
I remember seeing something about it. I didn't think it was real though. Did they really try to get him back?
I don't. Hey, you never know these days with the fake news. I don't know, but like if that's true, which I did see a few different tweets about that. Like, report has it that John Gruden inquired about what it would take to get Khalil Mack back. Is like, dude, you honestly, like, they've had 3 years to draft these guys.
Hold on, JD. Hold on.
Anyone interested in turnovers? Hey, that's my guy. No, I'm just kidding. That's not my guy. That ain't my guy. That is.
Can you guys hear me? I was having some
cut.
audio issues.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm okay with just cutting him. I really am.
But like you said it, you did say it perfectly before though. Like you were like, everybody in the league knows exactly what he is, what his ceiling is, what he's going to give you, what he can bring, where his limitations are. They know Andy Dalton inside and out from him being in the league for so long. Justin Fields is the wild card.
He is. He's clearly more talented. Even if he couldn't run, forget dual threat, that arm, the ball zips out of his hand. He has probably a top 20 arm in the world. So you have Andy Dalton, who has maybe a top 50, 60, 70 arm in the world. You got him, and then you have the arm talent of, even if Andy Dalton would have less turnovers, I would still rather have Justin Fields.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So let's continue on. I want to
Hey, do you mind if I make a quick statement on the defense?
Go for it, Ross.
Please.
I again, looking at Roquan Smith, we're looking at Nichols, and we're looking at Robert Quinn. Like, this is not there's a lot of potential. Khalil Mack, 1 sack on the day, been in on tackles. It doesn't look as bad on paper than it does on television. You know what I'm saying? I think there is potential here, and I think there's things that could be tightened up.
Well, if you can get a good offense with a good running game and a good quarterback to control the time of possession, to control the team, and then you have that defense with young guys, all who grew up together, basically, who were like with like 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different defensive coordinators and stuff like that. They all grew up together. They all have this chemistry together. You have that because that's what the Bears have done. We've always done. We built defenses and we keep them together. And if we have that with a Justin Fields and a consistent, like you said, if we draft some offensive linemen and some other young pieces, there's no telling what the Bears could do. We could win like 2 or 3 Super Bowls. You never know, but you'll never know until you let him sling it, as they say. You gotta let him go, man. You can't
There is one person
or Andy Dalton.
There is one person on that team that is going to benefit more than anything from Justin Fields being the quarterback, and that's Allen Robinson.
And me. Yes, Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson could be a stud with just a Justin Fields-led offense, because with Justin Fields under center, you actually have to respect you have to respect the dual threat offense, and 2, they like, come on, let's be honest, right? Defensive coordinators are not going to respect Andy Dalton's athletic ability. You have to look at Justin Fields, and you have to respect the athletic ability that he has.
Yeah, exactly. You would have to game plan for Fields. You have to game plan for Fields. And honestly, here's what I'll say. Matt Nagy, I got to bring this up before we move on. Matt Nagy was asked, apparently, this is according to reports, he's asked, like, hey, are you going to start Fields or are you going to start Dalton? And he goes, I don't know. We're not going to talk about that. But then another coach apparently said that Nagy plans on starting Dalton. Now, I hope this is what happens. I hope that he actually starts Fields, says he starts Dalton, hopes that the other team doesn't game plan, is the Browns. The Browns don't game plan for Fields, and we start Fields. Because do you think Andy Dalton even has a remote chance against the Browns?
And the Browns defensive line, not a chance.
He's going to get destroyed, especially with a sore hip. Justin Fields, though, he has a chance. Justin Fields has a chance against the Browns.
In that case, they have to play contained defense. When you have a quarterback that's dynamic, like Justin Fields, you have to hold the edges and you have to keep your gaps, because Justin Fields can sneak out and steal 5 yards easy. You know how quick this kid is. There is a lot of potential here, and I want him to start because I do have Allen Robinson in fantasy football. And,
people underestimate too. The Bears are a young team. They're not that old. They're not the Bears that we remember. Like they're not that aging team again. They've turned that a lot of that roster over. The Bears are a very young team, and they're still kind of gelling. And when they do, if they ever did get a couple of, serviceable offensive linemen for Fields to just give him maybe an extra half second, they're not far. The Bears are not far away from being a serious threat to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say that to add to your Allen Robinson point, you said that Allen Robinson has the most to gain from Justin Fields.
Yes.
He's wanting a deal. Lots of money, big bag, secure the bag, get a huge financial deal, like 4 or 5 years. If Fields, you don't know what you have in Allen Robinson, but if you put Fields and Robinson out there together and they mesh, then why wouldn't you sign Allen Robinson to a long deal?
Well, Allen Robinson can use that as in his negotiations. You want me to stay? You start Justin Fields.
Yeah, but if I'm the coach, I want that though, because I want to know, like, hey, is this a good combo? Because if it's not a good combo, I'm going to use that in the negotiations. I'm going to be like, well, you can't even play with my rookie quarterback. Why should I sign you to a long deal? I'll give you 1 more year for $5 million. You know what I mean? Like, you got to know.
No.
You got to know. It's better to know.
So closing arguments here, gentlemen, for the Bears. So closing thoughts here for the Bears and Bengals. Ross, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I'm kind of like I watched the cuts and I've looked at the stats, and I think you're a team that's growing. I think you're a team that's gaining chemistry, and in a lot of ways, I see a lot of parallels with the Patriots right now. You know, where we're going through the motions of training up a rookie quarterback, having guys come in and kind of mentor him. You have receivers that the chemistry isn't exactly there yet, but I think you guys have the ingredients for some magic here. I mean, let's just look at Justin Fields. He wasn't in that long, still got 60 yards, and he ran for 31 yards. That's 91 yards to one player. Average run was 3.1, and he's a rookie. I mean, there's a lot of positives I think Bears fans can take away. And with Andy Dalton gone, and I hate to say a veteran guy like him, but Justin Fields right now as a rookie, I believe is better than the Red Rocket. That's just me personally, and I think he is going to lend a different look to this team that is going to make people question and actually play back, play contain. Then all of a sudden that opens up the running game. Then that opens up quick passes, and then you got that middle of the field to work with. I think Justin Fields is going to bring a lot.
Put some respect on that man's name.
Just saying.
I like it.
Just saying. I like him. I wanted him. I wanted Fields over. Everyone's going to hate me for this. I wanted a mobile quarterback. Again, that was my preference. Everyone else was happy with Dak.
I would have taken Fields. I'm with you though. I would have taken either one, Jones or Justin. Those were the two that I wanted, either Mac Jones or Justin Fields.
Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Justin Fields. What do they all have in common? They all can move a little bit and throw deep down the field. That's the future of the league, in my opinion. Those guys are dominant too. Patrick Mahomes.
And the only concern is, though, they are going to take a bit more of a bruising. So
that's true.
Pocket QBs, strictly pocket QBs, tend to last much longer in the NFL. When you start seeing guys look at the damage Michael Vick took. Look at the damage Cam Newton took. They got to have the threat of the run, but don't use it as every opportunity like they do to Lamar. Look at Lamar.
I agree. He's going to get.
Or they have to. If you're going to be a running quarterback, you need to know when to slide.
Thank you.
Know when to slide.
Already showed he can do that, and so did Russell Wilson. So that's really exciting.
Russell Wilson, in my opinion, does it the best. Russell Wilson epitomizes that dual threat quarterback the best. Somebody who can run and someone who's also smart about it too. He knows when to slide, when to get down, when to not take a hit.
That's huge. It's extremely because Wilson doesn't get hurt much, and he has more. Russell Wilson has more rushing yards than anyone in the NFL that doesn't get blasted and hurt as much as he does. Because everyone else who has all the rushing yards, they're out of the league in 10 years. Wilson, he can be a pocket quarterback. He's good enough to be a pocket quarterback until he's 45. He's good enough for that.
So I have two. So let's move it on to two. We're gonna head to a different team now, and me and JD had spoke about these two individuals and how it was make or break years for these two players, and they're on the same team, but both of these guys are definitely in maybe a prove it year, or just maybe prove it to themselves year that they can play. So let's head down to New York and talk about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So let's do Daniel Jones first. Jones was drafted very high by the New York Giants. I believe it was 6th overall by the New York Giants, and he was drafted ahead of a lot. That his draft class had a lot of talent in it. And I mean, talented guys that could spend 10 years in the league and be MVP caliber players. He was drafted ahead of a lot of good guys. And he just his tenure here in the NFL has been up and down and mediocre to kind of say the least. He has shown one or two, I think he's played 20, I believe he's played 28 games, and only 8 of those games have been on the positive end. He's just very inconsistent. I want to get your thoughts first, Ross, on whether or not you think this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones.
I don't think so. See, my biggest problem with New York, and it's always been my biggest problem, is they always put weapons over protection. They always draft 2 weapons. So how many times have we seen Daniel Jones run for his life? Like legit run for his life. In that division, the first thing you should be thinking about is how do we shore up that front line for this young quarterback? Because if he's running for his life half the game, how many good throws is he going to get off? This is the big complaint I always have about like the Bengals and certain other teams. You got to invest in your front line. If you don't have somewhere near a top 10 offensive line, you're not going to go anywhere in this NFL. Look at these teams, Cleveland, these guys who can get the pass rush going. You need a solid front line, and they haven't had that in the longest time in New York. That's just my opinion.
Now, JD, you made a very interesting comparison to me. You text me something, and it said, "Is Andy Dalton the next Mitch Trubisky?"
Daniel Jones.
Is Daniel Jones? Excuse me, guys. Is Daniel Jones the next Mitch Trubisky?
Yes.
And would you care to elaborate on that?
So I think that he has a lot of the same skill set. He's a solid medium range thrower. He messes up easy plays sometimes. He doesn't have a fantastic arm, and he can move his feet a little bit. I shall break this curse. Please break the curse. All right. If you're listening on the podcast, there's a meme that you might want to check out on the YouTube channel. But, man, it's very funny that Ross is sharing with us. Anyway, it's about Justin Fields. It's saying that he's going to break the curse of terrible quarterbacks in Chicago. Although I will say that Cutler wasn't as terrible. I don't know. Cutler and Trubisky weren't as bad as the rest. But yes, we need Fields. Anyway, going back to Justin Fields, getting back on point. Justin Fields or Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. Gosh. All these new young guys.
Justin Fields on the mind.
He's on my mind. All right. Daniel Jones, though. Daniel Jones, this is what I'll say about him. I'm gonna say the good thing first, okay? Actually. Daniel Jones was the right pick. New York Giants. He was the right pick.
Really? Over the defensive lineman they could have had ahead.
Okay, all right. Let me back up. He was the right quarterback pick. 3 names I'm going to read off to you right now. Drew Lock, Will Grier, Jared Stidham. Those are your other options. So keep in mind, you might say, oh, well, they're all, if they wanted a quarterback, Daniel Jones was the guy for sure. Because those are your other 3 options in that draft. That draft sucked. Unless you got Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was the best player. Daniel Jones was the second best quarterback. Whether you like him or not, he was the second best quarterback. Now it's time for the punishing bad part. He basically is Mitchell Trubisky. And honestly, I think I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky. If I'm the Giants, I'm looking at next year saying, hey, Bills, what would you want a second round pick for that backup you got there? Just saying, because he probably adds more in the passing game than Daniel Jones does. Daniel Jones looks confused sometimes, like in the passing game. Trubisky didn't look confused. He just wasn't overwhelmingly talented. So if you're just looking for someone to like kind of just run the table with you, then Mitchell Trubisky's your guy. He'll do it for you. But Ross, I think Jones is becoming that guy.
Ross, your thoughts?
I think when you see a talent like Daniel Jones on the draft and he falls to you, you can't not take him. Like, again, I look at Daniel Jones as a possible franchise quarterback. He is that type of guy who can do multiple things and has got a good arm. You don't leave someone on the draft board like that. If I was picking at that point, I probably would have taken them, because how strong of a quarterback presence did they really have in New York?
It wasn't. Well, the quarterback draft in that year was not good at all.
Yeah. And again, he was the only good one to pull from the draft, and they needed someone. Who have they seen that's been at any way near potent for that New York Giants team.
Yeah, no, that's the truth.
And when did Eli retire? Like, that was the last relevant quarterback they had. And that's, again, you don't leave a solid possible franchise quarterback on the board where he could possibly go to someone in the same division and just make your life even worse.
I'm with you. And I think that Daniel Jones, he was the best guy on the board. He was coached by a guy that Eli respected. Maybe that was their way of saying, "Hey, we like you, Eli," and stuff. I don't know if he is a franchise quarterback. He had the most potential of anyone on that board, though. I agree with you there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I do agree with you guys there as well. There was the potential that you had to take him because of the potential. The potential. The ceiling was higher.
Too high to pass up. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Now, his teammate Saquon Barkley, through 2 weeks, once again still starting slow. Not a very sluggish year for Barkley as well. Does he need a strong rebound year to a strong bounce back year to kind of prove to himself and his doubters that he can do it, that he could still play at a high level? Or if let's say hypothetically he gets hurt this year and misses time, at what point do we call him injury prone? And because if he gets hurt again, I do believe that he's not going to get big money on a next contract. Ross?
So I have a couple of things on this. Until you have a solid front line, I don't think many guys are in danger right now. Like, how much time does Daniel Jones have in that backfield? The minimal footage I've looked at just from tape, like, I'm going 1,000, 1,000, throw the ball. Like, he has no time. It's Swiss cheese on that front line. I think these guys are okay until they fill their needs on the offensive line front. Look at these guys. Like, we're going to look at the last game against Washington. Washington's a fairly good defense. They lost by a single point like we did with Miami. Look at this. 94 yards for Sterling Shepard for 9 receptions, 10.4 average per catch. Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay. Like, these are not terrible numbers, and they're all over 6 yards per catch.
Yeah.
After catch. And what I'm looking at here is they're a couple steps away from being one of those teams that you kind of have to say it's a 50-50 ball game now. But that front line, I think until they work out the front line, most of these guys are going to be pretty safe.
And it has been a turnstile for the Giants at offensive line. They have been trying to figure that out for years now.
Yeah, I feel like next year's draft, I would hope, because again, one of the guys I watch that I find kind of funny, he's a Giants coverage guy. He's a 5 Points vids. He covers the Giants, and his biggest complaint is like, who's going to block for people? Like, I think it was 2 different drafts that he's just like losing it because it's like, oh, we got another wide receiver. Who's going to give them enough time to actually throw to him? I don't know if coaching is thinking they're smarter than what the stats say, but it's just like every time they pass up a dominant guard or dominant tackle that they could work into the system, it frustrates people because look at the talent they already have. They don't need more wide receivers. Like, we've been praying for wide receivers in New England for 5 years.
True.
They've hit on every one. Look at rushing. Like, Daniel Jones had 95 rushing yards. How stupid is that?
That is
95 yards.
That's from just scrambling.
6 yards per carry. Like, what is going on?
I'll give him credit for that. I'll give him credit. I'll give Jones credit for that.
Well, we gotta give Jones credit for the fact he could scramble and not die.
Exactly.
the amount of Washington defenders I've seen in the backfield from the clips.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that's not good enough for the NFL. It's just not good enough.
So let's stick with the let's stick so closing on that. Both of those, I think it is a make or break year, but in their own eyes, for themselves. I think.
Hey, Missy.
I think Jones needs a good year to, for his own mental well-being, proving to himself that he can still play, because they like, I don't know, they're not helping him any. It seems like the Giants aren't the Giants organization as a whole hasn't helped him at all. It's kind of similar to the Eli situation. They didn't help Eli for years too,
No doubt, they definitely had some bad years.
Except the one where they hurt my soul. I'm not going to go into that because I have PTSD from Eli Manning.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Giants robbing us twice.
I think any given Sunday, you need to put your players in the best position to win until they address the glaring issues for 3 seasons that they haven't addressed on the New York Giants. They're going to be a middling team that I don't even look at as a 50-50 ball club. I just don't. They're explosive, but you start hitting Daniel Jones, he's going to fold. He's still a young quarterback, and people are going to take advantage of that.
No, and that's priority number 1 for a lot of teams when they play them is hit him. Let's hit the young kid and see if we can knock him off his game.
I just want to say something about Saquon Barkley, and it's nothing against him personally, but it's something about him and Zeke. I'm just going to kind of blanket them all together. I would say that Zeke and Barkley were both. I'm just going to use those two, but them and a few other guys always get elevated to this level of like Adrian Peterson level by a lot of people, especially on like Twitter, social media, a bunch of other stuff. Let's be clear. There's only like 1 elite, maybe 2 elite running backs in the league right now. And I would say that would be Derrick Henry. And then maybe Alvin Kamara, maybe Austin Eckler. Those 2 are just not productive enough for me to say they're elite. Maybe they're elite talents, but they haven't been elite over the last 3 years. So how can I call them elite? I just can't.
Well, Zeke especially has had a couple of down years where he just hasn't.
Great blocker.
I hate to say it, and I'm probably going to piss some Cowboy fans off, but I live in New England, so who cares? Anyways, so Zeke hasn't looked good since he got his money. He hasn't been the same since he got his money. Since Elliott got that massive contract, he hasn't been the same. He just hasn't been motivated. Now, granted, last game, he did run he ran harder than I've seen him run in a while. So I will give him credit for that. But ever since he got that massive contract, the motivation just hasn't been there.
I mean, the thing is, I do think that Zeke is all bought into. He wants to be the best Cowboy he can be. So I'll give him credit for that. It's more the fans. The fans are like, Zeke's the best since freaking whoever. What's his name?
Emmitt Smith.
Emmitt Smith. Thank you so much. You knew exactly what I was going to say. He's the best since Emmitt Smith. It's like, nah, dude. He's just a good running back. That's all. He's a good piece. He's a great blocker, good pass catcher, solid running back. He's not a superstar. I'll slow down on that.
Ross?
My biggest thing with Zeke, I think there was glaring injuries that he didn't report or he would push through certain things. I think he definitely had a downgrade after he got his money. I mean, that was a significant paycheck. That was significant. But what I would say is he was also not put in a great position either. He had to go, at least last season, he had to go between 2 different quarterbacks. Secondly, that O-line, everyone touts it as being good, wasn't very good, in my opinion. And He's like what Damian Harris had to do the other day. He legitimately has to do the impossible to either get to the line of scrimmage or to get 5 yards downfield. So I don't think it's necessarily him. It's a team fail, in my opinion, because that O-line did not show up a lot of times for Zeke, and Zeke was not making dynamic plays. Because let's be honest, there's the joke out there that he got fat. Everyone makes that joke. Zeke got fat. And this man could kill me. I understand that. Murder me easily. But football caliber shape, there was points where he was not there. He was not dynamic, but the O-line did him no favors, at least this season and last season.
I was just going to say, weren't they there was a couple of years where Dallas's offensive line was injured. So he wasn't I think it was last year was one, and then I believe it was like 2019, I want to say, maybe that, or 2018. I think his offensive line was hurt as well. So he hasn't really, when you're a running back and you're dealing with second string offensive linemen and it's not the guys you're used to, and they're, that can be tough. So I'll give him a little bit of wiggle room there, but still he's been in the league since 2016, and 2 out of the 4 years have been bad.
Yeah, but here's one other thing I will add to that, why I'm giving him any bit of a pass. Coach Clapp. Let's be honest. Coach Clapp.
The clapper.
Again, they didn't disguise the run, kind of like what we're doing now. When I saw Ezekiel Elliott on the field, they were legitimately always running to him. There was no disguising the run. There was no trickery involved, like a bootleg that turned into a run. It was just straight, we're going to put him up the snot with no blocking, and we're going to do that 20 times a game. I'm sorry. Who was running the offense for the Cowboys really frustrated me last season and a portion of this season. They did much better against Tampa Bay, but they fell off. They fell off towards the end of the game. So what I will tell people is, if you're a Cowboys fan or if you're someone who has Zeke in your lineup in fantasy, don't give up too quickly, because I think he's going to have a bounce back season, at least with somewhat better coaching.
No doubt. Also, Mike McCarthy's second full year, he had a full off season and a full training camp and all the stuff that goes with that.
I completely agree. And you got a team that had the worst defense, I would say, last season in the NFL. Just no matter what they put on the board, no matter how good Dak played, no matter how good Zeke played, if teams are putting 20 points on you out of nowhere, you're not going to go anywhere in the league.
Yeah, no doubt. You lose every game 34-30.
That's the Washington game. No, excuse me. That was the Tampa Bay game.
All right, team. Let's go.
I got one more player I want to talk about, who's off to a red hot start, and JD sent me this one too. JD sent me this topic, and I think it's worth talking about. So let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray and the white hot start that he's off to. Kyler Murray through 2 games, a QBR of 121. So I want to do one thing real quick. Excuse me, guys.
By the way, is Leedy in here? Because we had to annoy him once at least while he's in here.
So a QBR of 121.1 through 2 games. Now the Arizona Cardinals have the Jaguars coming up, the LA Rams, and then the San Francisco 49ers. So the Jaguars he should be able to stay on performance with that, because their defense is not good. The next 2 games, though, the following games coming up after the next one, the Rams, the Niners, and the Browns, is going to be very telling, I think, on whether or not Murray can keep this. Like this is a ridiculous pace up. A QBR of 121, and they're 2-0. He is playing exceptional right now, making reads on the field, making things happen with his legs. The accuracy, Kyler Murray's accuracy, throwing deep down the field has been like he's been incredible so far. But like I said, he's got a pushover game in the Jaguars, and then he's got the Rams, the Niners, and the Browns right after that. So that's going to be a real 3-week test to see whether or not Kyler Murray's for real or not. But Ross, I want to get your thoughts on that.
So Kyler Murray is one of those guys I've always kept an eye on. I think he's supremely talented. I think he is someone who can establish an organization that's been struggling. Like, he's dynamic. I mean, let's look at his stats. Like, just stupid. 416 total yards for this offense, 280 passing yards, 136 rushing yards against Tennessee, who is like almost one of the best running backs in the NFL, Derrick Henry. And then 6.2 yards per play. That is nothing but success. And I'm not saying the Titans are the Titans of defense, but look at Kyler Murray, 21 for 32, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Now, let's be considerate. He's still mostly a rookie. But the stats, oh my God, 13, like a lot of these guys are getting over 10 yards per play in the receiving game. In the rushing game, everything's over 4 yards per carry. That's a recipe for success. This is a dark horse team. If they can keep this together, they're going to make a lot of teams look very foolish.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like the Cardinals have always been one of those teams where you could sleep on them or overlook them. What do you think, JD?
The Cardinals, this is what I'm going to say about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is one of the greatest athletes of his generation, of the Gen Z generation. He is one of the greatest athletes that they're going to have. This guy was drafted number 9 overall by the Oakland Athletics in the MLB. He is a transcendent athlete, one of the best baseball players of his class. And as well as, and a lot of people didn't even think he'd be a great football player. Then he goes to Oklahoma and lights the league on, lights the NCAA on fire. I think he won a Heisman. He was absolutely phenomenal in college. Comes to the NFL, doesn't take him very long to at least show his talent. And now you gave him a whole year of of kind of feeling the league out. Now Cliff Kingsbury is blowing up the playbook. He's doing whatever he wants. He's got Hopkins to do whatever he wants with how he just Murray can throw it. Murray's accuracy is phenomenal. That's something that can't be overstated. His accuracy is incredible. I think it's a lot to do with his baseball skills. He's just a very skilled athlete, and that's all I can say. He's just incredibly skilled athlete. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league for a long time.
So you do think he can keep the pace up? You do?
Oh, yeah.
You think he can keep this up?
He'll be fine. Yep. He's going to continue. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I believe it. That you can't fake that talent. You can't fake that skill. It's special. It's unique. He's a lot like Doug Flutie with his size, but I would say he's quicker off the acceleration. I just think that and also here's the thing. You got DeAndre Hopkins, so you can do a lot. Like you can throw that ball anywhere you want, and he'll go get it. So it's kind of nice.
And he's deceptive too. He is quick.
Quick.
Like he breaks people's ankles.
Good vision for a short guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know the memes and the jokes online. A lot of guys are just like, yes, he's a short quarterback. But again, there's been majorly fantastic quarterbacks in the NFL that aren't over 6'5".
True.
Let's keep this in perspective. And also, that is somewhat a benefit to him being a mobile quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Slippery. Hard to grab. Because you're so small and, definitely.
I just believe this kid has a ceiling that he hasn't reached yet. And that's a scary thought because right now, look at what he's on pace to do with the Cardinals. The Cardinals. Imagine if he was on a team
changing
like
the culture.
Yes. Imagine if he went to a more stacked team. My Lord, he would have done even more damage. And now he's got Hopkins in the mix. Thank you, Rick, for telling me that. I completely forgot that now they got Hopkins over there. The sky could be the limit at this point.
I think the athletic ability cannot be underestimated. He's on top of he's doing it all at his size with 5'10" at the most. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He turned down millions of dollars to play football. Millions right off the bat. And now it's all going to pay off. He's going to make hundreds of millions.
Just the what he's doing is definitely worth monitoring because he's got that team playing very, very well. And the another thing that shouldn't be underestimated either is the defense feeds off of that too. When the offense is successful and they see Kyler Murray doing all the stuff that he can do, the defense feeds off of that. He's making the whole team better.
I agree. No question about that.
When you got that kind of leadership in the locker room and people going by example and making plays happen, that's going to inspire the rest of the team. Momentum is massive in games. Again, we talked about when we played the Jets, you and me off camera, is if we didn't get those picks, let's imagine those picks didn't happen and they gained some momentum. How much closer of a game would the Jets game been for us? Again, I think Kyler Murray is the type of guy that can change games.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that you have to game plan for. You cannot ignore him.
When I'm watching Murray, he plays in a way that I shouldn't say I'm not worried, but I'm not as worried that he's going to get hurt as a lot of other guys are. Like a lot of other guys that kind of throw their bodies around and they get hit really hard. Murray's so athletic and so is that a word? Anticipatory. He anticipates everything so well. He's so much faster than everyone else mentally on the field.
He's got what he's got to me that really stands out for somebody of his size too. Like his football IQ I was impressed with that. I did not. I'll be the first to admit I did not give him. I was not expecting his football IQ to be as good as it was, and he has very good instincts in the pocket. He can feel a rush. He can feel that backside rush. You know what I mean? He's very good with the instinctual stuff about the game. When he needs to get out of the pocket, he can feel it and get out of the pocket and get out of harm's way.
No doubt, he's quick.
I like dynamic players, and he's one of those guys. Simply put, he's exciting to watch. You want to turn on a football game? Are you going to turn it on to see the Red Rocket? No, you're going to turn it on to see Justin Fields. Are you going to turn it on to see let's be honest, some aging quarterback in the backfield just doing checkdowns all day? I know they don't last as long, but it makes a far more exciting football game.
Well, if you're a quarterback like Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray or maybe Justin Fields, where you can throw in the pocket and you can make pocket throws, that career doesn't necessarily have to be that short. Cam's problem was he never, and I would say Michael Vick was relatively not dynamic with his arm, but they weren't dynamic with their arms. You know what I mean? They didn't understand that. Cam didn't even know the playbook. I mean, that's just stuff like that. That's going to hurt you. If you know the playbook, you're dynamic with your arm and you're athletic, you're going to have a nice prime and then maybe a slow, gradual decline. So that's kind of nice, I would say. I hope that's what happens for all of these guys.
But see, that just adds to the football IQ. His football IQ, I didn't give him, like I said, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't give him enough credit for that. I didn't think, his football IQ, watching some of those plays and watching him read and instinctually know where DeAndre Hopkins is going to be downfield as he's scrambling is something that needs to be said. That's a very underrated part of his game. That's very good.
And Hopkins hasn't even been there that long.
I know.
He has not even been there that long. It's crazy. And they're
Very
already
good
starting
young
to gain
offense.
chemistry. Absolutely. I cannot disagree there.
And they brought somebody, this was brought up too. He's very accurate on the move.
That's
which is a huge plus too, especially those type of mobile quarterbacks like that suit teams that don't have good offensive lines a lot better than the pocket guys do. Like Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is a purely pocket guy, and he's on a team in the Chicago Bears that don't have the greatest offensive line. So why not like this? So like you got to put players and put the team in the best position to win. That like Kyler Murray's in the best spot he's going to be in. He's with the best coach he's going to get. You know what I mean? He's in a good like. You have to put them in the best spot possible to win. The Bears need Justin Fields because the offense is going to run smoother with a guy like that over a quarterback like Andy Dalton.
I agree.
And I love the diamond. I know Justin Fields is young. He's not NFL supposedly ready, but he's going to show something like Kyler Murray that teams that have played you over the years have never seen. That's an advantage.
I'm okay if he sucks. I'm not going to lose my mind.
JD, but here's the thing, right? Bears fans, and they might have to, you guys might have to sacrifice this year to just build the chemistry between Fields and the rest of the offense. But you never know. Like Patriot fans might be in the same boat as you guys where we might have to sacrifice this year to get the chemistry right between Jones, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, and the rest of the offense. So if you have to toss 1 year out for the next 8 to 10, I mean, I would gladly make that sacrifice. You know what I mean? Like you make that sacrifice. 1 for 10 is an easy give up.
Well, the way I see it is it's the way I see it. The reason why I think it's not a sacrifice is it's kind of how what I alluded to earlier with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton doesn't give us any more of a chance to win a game than Justin Fields does. He doesn't. Like if he did, then I'd be like, I don't know. Like maybe like if this was Alex Smith with the Chiefs and we were maybe going to the playoffs, and then people were like, well, Alex Smith sucks. Put in Mahomes. If he sucks, whatever, we'll see. Okay, maybe that's a decision we can make. But this is not the decision. The decision is very bad or bad but potential. That's the decision I have to make. Very bad or bad with potential. I'll take bad with potential.
Yeah, no doubt. So in closing, guys, I think we're all in agreement, but I'll let you guys give your final thoughts. On the Kyler Murray thing. Can he keep this pace up, and can the Cards make some serious noise this year? Because the way I see it, they got a cupcake game in the Jaguars, which Kyler Murray should absolutely torch that team. But I'm telling you, the 3 games after that, they got the Rams, they got the Niners, and the Browns. All 3 top 10, top 12 defenses. Easily. So Murray's going to be facing a test in the next month, but I think he can do it. I think he's going to be in the running for MVP this year.
Hey JD, you want to take the first snap on this one, or you want me to grab this one?
Go for it. Take it.
Okay. So remember we talked about complete football. We talked off air about it. We've all chatted about complete football. When you have a defense that's supporting your offense, let's look at a couple of numbers here that I find very interesting about the Cards. Okay, so the Tennessee Titans against the Cardinals, they allowed 6 sacks. 6 sacks. How demoralizing is that? They caused them to punt 3 times. They had 2 fumbles lost. and 1 interception thrown, and their time of possession was only like 26 minutes. 26 minutes of a football game. They controlled the game, they controlled the run, and they legitimately, if you have a complete team, you can really do anything. It's just 38-13 against Tennessee. Tennessee is not one of those teams you walk right over, especially their running game. I mean, how many times you've seen teams go up against Tennessee and have more rushing yards than Tennessee? Never. I think
Not lately.
Yeah, and I think also Tennessee shot themselves in the foot a lot. The 7 penalties for 57 yards. You can't do that. Their first down percentage, they only had 17 first downs in 64 plays. That's not how you win football games. While on the other end of the scale, you got 22 first downs for the Cardinals, 67 plays. Bit better, but it's just all around better team football. The offense is going to feed on the defense, and the defense is going to feed on the offense. Momentum is important, and all around good team football is going to win you a lot of games.
I will say that's a very good take, Ross, and I agree with you. You got to have both sides of the ball. We'll see how that plays out. I'm looking at the division games. The NFC West. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I was coughing a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, my bad. The NFC West, man, is the best division in this league. I don't think it's really up for debate. They got the Seahawks, the Niners. I mean, now we got the Cardinals are making some noise. And with that, I'm just going to say that this is what I'll say. Do they have a chance? That was I think your first question, Bobby. They have a chance. A lot of it is riding on Murray. And if they get it done, if they make the playoffs, Murray's in the MVP conversation. So I think all of that is a very adept prediction by you, Bobby. And what another thing I want to say about that is if they do all of that, if they make all of those adjustments and they figure this thing out, make the playoffs in that division this year, the ownership group deserves the most credit because Cliff Kingsbury was doubted by the national media, the local media, everyone. Nobody thought Cliff Kingsbury would do anything. And everyone was bashing them when they got Josh Rosen and then immediately got Kyler Murray. So the ownership group deserves a ton of credit if they were able to do that. This is an ownership group that goes – it's as old as this ownership group, believe it or not. This is the oldest – the Cardinals, the Bears, the Packers, and the Giants, man. Oldest franchises in the history of this league. They deserve a lot of credit. I don't know if it's the same ownership. If they do turn it around, are they 2-0? Are they 2-0?
They are 2-0. They are undefeated.
Mm-hmm. They're one of the
I'm going to
few.
be watching the division games. That's all I can say. I'm going to be watching the division games. Are everything in this division. Everything.
Like I was saying, man, they have a cupcake game in the Jaguars, right? Coming up. But the next stretch for them, in 6 games in the next after the Jaguar game. So after this coming weekend, they have the Rams, the Niners, the Browns, the Packers, and then the Niners again in 6 weeks.
And the Niners games are going to be
I'm telling you, they're in for a brutal stretch after this week, and it's going to say a lot about Murray and that team if he can keep up that, if he can keep even close to that pace.
I'll be watching. I'll be watching Murray.
Mm-hmm. Again, this is going to lead me into an opportunity to rant real quick. Why does Tampa Bay have the easiest schedule in the NFL?
Conspiracy.
I'm sorry.
Tinfoil hat on.
This is stupid. They're the best team in the NFL, and you have someone like the Cardinals going up against the best the NFL has to offer. And there's only 2 teams as a threat anywhere on Tampa Bay's schedule. It's just weird. You're seeing Cardinals going up against the best, and you have what?
So JD, I'll just to give you an example of what he's talking about. All right. So the Buccaneers have played the Texans,
Producers love Tom Brady.
They have played the excuse me. They have played the Cowboys and the Falcons in week 1 and 2. Excuse me. Cowboys and Falcons.
All right.
Now, their remaining schedule, they have so it goes Rams, Patriots, Dolphins, Eagles, Bears, Saints, Washington, Giants, Colts, the Falcons again, the Colts again, the so then it's all divisional games, and then they finish with the Jets. So yeah,
I would say they have a weak division. That's a lot of it, but I mean, finishing with the Jets, that's interesting. Giving Brady another crack at the Jets.
They have the weakest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah,
they have the weakest schedule I think I've ever seen.
It's that division is not very good, so that definitely is part of it. They get to see the Falcons twice, but yeah, you're right. No, that's pretty bad. Why is it the AFC? He gets to face all his old familiar team or his old familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah, he gets to face the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets. What's up with that?
This is such a softball schedule.
It's a little weird.
I can't believe it. Like they get the Falcons. The Falcons.
I love how the Patriot fans are turning on Brady now. They're like, this guy he gets it all. He gets everything. I love it.
It's like, again, I'm gonna call it for what it is. It's an easy schedule.
It is an easy. Right.
I'm not gonna pull back on that. And they're the best team in football. Let's be honest. They are the best team in football.
Best roster, I'd say.
They got all their talent back. Who could say that at the end of a season? That I don't know who the shaman is they have in their office for accounting, but they brought everyone back and they even improved their front line. What is that? Crazy. This is crazy to me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, Brady, Gronk, and Antonio Brown don't really get paid that much. So, just saying.
Yeah, but
that's part of it.
That's all made up in ad deals. But I get what you're saying. You know,
right. Yeah, they all get their money.
Team the way it is. You know,
the cap don't make the cap isn't. They don't hit the cap that hard. So that's nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, can I rattle off some teams for you? I just want to see. Look at this schedule, okay? Falcons, Miami, Philadelphia, the Bears, New York. My God, this is other than the Bills in Carolina, I don't see a lot of guys being able to stop this team. Do you?
No, and a lot of people were saying that they could go undefeated. And I don't know about that, but it's not impossible if they have a very weak schedule. That doesn't hurt.
Rick is saying Matt Ryan is the last of the immobile QBs.
The last one that's still useful. Him and Tom Brady, the last one that's still useful. They've all been extinct. I'd say Tannehill, but he can kind of move, can he? Kind of move a little bit.
It was at this moment Tyrone Mathay knew he screwed up.
Can I bring up one more story before we close out?
Oh, yeah.
Just real quick. So there's a story that, well, it's not a story, it's a fact because it's been told. Apparently, Rob Gronkowski doesn't watch film really that much in his free time, and he doesn't really.
Yeah. So hold on, Ross. Did you hear this at all? Have you heard this at all?
No. What happened here?
So there's articles out saying that Rob Gronkowski. Tell him, JD. Tell him.
Yeah. No. They asked him. They said, Rob, so I guess somebody asked him, do you ever watch film and stuff? And he's like, no, I don't watch film. He's like, I guess if they have it on at practice, I'll watch it then. And if He's like, how do you know what to do then? He's like, I just asked Tom. Like, he's like, I just walk up to Tom during the game and I say, hey, Tom, like, where do I go? Where do you want me to run? And he's like, go that way, go this way, go left. And he just does that. It's like they won like freaking 4 Super Bowls together, and they're playing backyard football. He doesn't give a fuck. That was awesome. That was like my favorite story.
Gronk
like,
run route. Gronk catch ball. Gronk run to end zone. Gronk spike ball.
Dude, he's simplicity in motion. Like, again, like, he's just so dumb it works, you know.
Hey, you don't need to be that smart.
Brady loves him to death though, because he might be big and dumb, but he catches everything and he's a monster.
Absolutely. It is beyond stupid. Like, if you just get anywhere near him, he can snatch it. It's his longevity that we always had a concern for. It was never the man on the field, but it was just like, how many times was he out for half a season? You know, like, when he fell, you felt the ground shake. You know what I'm saying? That's watching an elephant fall down. Like, every time we saw him fall, we thought he was going to die. Like,
he's a big guy.
Well, he's like half robot anyways with all the surgeries he's had.
Well, he says that he's been doing that thing that Brady does. What do you call it again?
Like the TB12 and the bands and all.
And that helps prevent injuries.
We're on that. Brady is the greatest the greatest quarterback ever, right?
Yes.
But that motherfucker is weird off the football field. He is a strange dude.
He's obsessed.
That dude might be an alien. Obsession. He might be an alien. Seriously.
He has a passion, and
he's a weird dude.
Obsessed. I respect it.
Again, I respect the play, but I don't generally. I can respect the player, but I don't really have to like the person behind it. So again, I'll give him all credit all day for being the GOAT and being the best game manager the game has ever seen. But let's be frank, he's a weird dude. Like,
he's a weirdo.
He is more than a game manager too. He's more than a game manager.
No. But I'm saying he's the greatest game manager, as in he can coach at the line.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Players.
I see. Yeah.
Like, he knew
him and
defensive
Manning,
schemes from every team in the NFL. And he called directly on the line.
Oh yeah, from that perspective, yes, agreed.
And again, me and Bobby had the conversation, and we can't really deny it. Was Josh McDaniels carried for such a long period of time because he had such a great coaching quarterback?
That's something we should talk about in the future.
I can't outright.
We'll have to. We'll put that on the. But that Ross, like we had talked about that. Like, was Josh McDaniels carried for?
Were they all carried?
Yeah.
I can't deny it. I can't deny it right now. Like, I know it's meme fodder, but at the end of the day, there's cracks showing. Vanilla play calling, at least on our side. It's just I'm not seeing enough out of McDaniels to give me confidence in the long term at all.
You guys got rookie quarter. Okay, it's, you know what? Hey, it's not it's 2002 again. All right, this ain't 2019. Like, this is 2002 again. Like, you gotta roll it back, Patriots fans. You gotta lower your expectations. You're in our boat now. You're in our boat now. You're not in this. You don't get to get sick and tired of it.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
but
fuck that boat. We don't want to be in that boat.
Hey, Belichick got you in that boat. Brady would have came back, I bet. You would have kissed his ass a little bit more. Bend over and just,
But we had no money. We had no money to make him happy. We had no money left to get him a wide receiver, even to get him anything.
Me and JD like did a whole series on this, dude. Like, it was.
You tell Tom. Listen, Tom. We want you to retire here. We love you. You're everything to us. We want to give you a statue. We love you. Who do you want us to bring in? Tom will sign a $5 million deal. But instead, Belichick's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm pretty good. I'm a genius.
Do you remember the reports of the conversations between Brady and Bill being like 5-word sentences? Remember those?
Yeah, Tom got fucking pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you. I'm the best fucking quarterback in the history of this game. Go fuck yourself.
And I really think we should do an expose at some point on the I90 podcast of all the stupid taunting calls that have been going on that have changed games for the
Yes.
worst.
Let's do it.
I'm sorry,
I'm
but
in.
you're stopping drives for a guy standing up and flexing, not even looking at the guy.
I'll try to find a
You know,
compilation or make
You know,
one.
like I really think we should have a conversation on how many games have probably been lost to bad calls like that. Because that's, what is that, 15 or 10 yarder? And if you get two of them, you can throw a kid out of the game.
I think it's a 10-yarder. I think so.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's undermining the NFL at this point. You're taking the passion out of the game. I'm sorry. I talk too much. We're at 2 hours, 10 minutes already.
There's a South Park episode about this. It's called Sarcastaball. And like, this is the thing. Football is it's a very masculine sport, man. Like this, we're just throwing each other around, punching. Dude, I remember in my high school, like we would at the O-line, like I played tight end, we would literally punch each other sometimes, and it would not get called. Nowadays, you can't do anything to anyone.
We all played high school ball.
That's what I'm saying. Back in
around the same time, right? When you're in the pile up, when you're in the pile up at the end of the play, y'all know what went down in those pile ups. Oh yeah, before you got up, y'all know what went down in the. Y'all know what went down in the pile ups before you got up and went back to your side, whether it was the huddle for offense or defense. Come on now, we played all in the same era. We know.
I'm not going to say I never lifted up a quarterback's rib pads and started punching him in the ribs. I never did that once as a nose guard. Ever.
Gotta be careful with the quarterbacks, but in the line, it's all. You better be wearing a cup. That's all I have to say. It's all fucking fair game. Man.
I have no comment. I have no comment about that.
We were 7-2 for a freaking reason. All right. No, I'm just kidding.
7-2
for a freaking reason. No. No, I agree that there's a lot to look forward to in with the Patriots. In the Bears, but like especially with the Patriots, you just gotta relax because Mac Jones could be Brady in 5 years, but Brady wasn't Brady when he first came in. When he first won a Super Bowl, Brady wasn't Brady. Brady wasn't Brady until his third Super Bowl. Until
04.
Yeah.
Until 04.
So you gotta give him some time with the play calls and stuff. So
this is New England, though. We don't give time. What the fuck are you talking about?
Super Bowl expectations.
Come on, have you seen EEI? He should have been ready day one, and Cam Newton should have never started. Come on.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, Rick. Thanks for watching.
WEEI.
Thanks, Vegan.
Who the hell goes on W? Who listens to WEEI anyways?
I'm sorry, but we literally captured another 5 topics we could talk about next time. Legitimately complaining about EEI, taunting, stupid taunting penalties, NFL dark horses, and the fact that the New York Giants can't draft a front line.
Oh, dude, we didn't even get through half our time. I don't even think we got through half our time. We have so much more coming on in podcast episode 11 or episode 10 rather. Episode 10 is gonna be
we hammered out a lot, man. We did
get a lot.
We didn't get off track too much because of my shenanigans.
No, we just got a lot of we just had a lot of information in there, man. It's been a good episode. Thanks.
There was a lot
for having me, guys. Thanks for having me on.
In closing, gentlemen, both rookie quarterbacks are showing that they do belong in this league. Jones and Fields definitely showing that they will and do belong in the league.
Absolutely.
There's Kyler Murray on a ridiculous pace as a QBR of 121.1 right now.
Amazing.
Truly amazing. Great player.
There's no words. No words on that.
Hopefully you can keep it up.
And Andy Dalton's a scrub. And outside of that,
and he's the starter.
Please let Justin Fields start. I need him
I
in
would rather
fantasy.
cut him.
Can we get a Justin Fields to start week 3 prayer circle?
Because I got Allen Robinson and Donald is not hitting him. It's the worst.
Father of the
It's like-
Midway.
They told me I'm going to get 30 points with Robinson, and I get 3. It's like, go away, Red Rocket, okay?
Oh, my God, yeah. It's trash. You never trust the Bears.
They need to
receiver.
strap Andy Dalton to a rocket and just send him out of there.
Just cut him. See, I'm done with him. Seen enough. 2 games. It's been enough.
That'll do it for episode 9, guys. Episode 10 coming up next week. For me, for Ross, and for JD, thanks for tuning in, y'all. We appreciate the support. Go Pats. JD?
Bear the fuck down, boys. Let's go.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
The Bears.
And go Patriots. We're out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Find us on Apple Pod. Where are we, JD?
Will be Apple Podcast, hopefully very soon. iHeartRadio, YouTube, I90 Sports Talk, and Facebook. I90 Sports Talk on Facebook as well.
So look us up, and we appreciate the continued support, guys.
And on Rumble. Sorry. Thank you.
And in closing, up yours, New York. Yankees, you're going down. We're going to knock your ass out the playoffs. Screw you, New York.
There you go. Get some baseball talk in there.
Go Seahawks.
And we're out of here.